Hi, everybody. This is Virginia Milner, and I'm coming to you with another tutorial. May is Asian Heritage and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, so I wanted to do something for that. And we're going to go to Hawaii. We went to Hawaii last year, and we're going to do it again this year. Last year we made a necklace, and this year we're going to make a bracelet. So if you still have that necklace, you will have a matching bracelet. Well, kind of. It's not going to be the exact same design, but I'm going to be using a lot of the same little petal beads to make it, so it will look similar. And you can wear them together if you would like. So I'm making this very streamlined and very easy. It's going to take beads, an assortment of crystals, and I'm using transparent seed beads and crystals both. And the little petal beads that I'm using, you don't have to use the petal beads. If you don't want to, you can use all crystals, or any kind of little 4 millimeter shiny bead. You can also use 6 millimeter beads. I'm using 4 millimeter crystals and uh, 4 millimeter not jump rings, 4 millimeter seed beads, the translucent kind that kind of go with the crystals. Also, one size of wire, 24 gauge for the whole thing. And because we're using 24 gauge, we won't be making our own clasp. I'm going to be giving you a lobster clasp for this one. That's it. Beads, 24 gauge wire, jump rings. That's the whole supply list for this particular bracelet. You're going to need your usual tools, your round nose pliers. The barrels are round all the way around. They start larger at the whole hilt and taper up to almost a point at the tip. Your square nose pliers that are slightly rounded on the outside. They also start larger at the hilt and taper up to a more slender tip. And your cutters, you can use flush cutters, or you can use just regular jewelry cutters. These, if you can, I don't know if you can get a good look at that. They've got all kinds of little nicks in them, but they still work. So I'm going to keep using them until they don't work anymore. Eventually, I'm going to have to change them. But for right now, they're good to go. All right, that's it. And you'll need a ruler. You'll need a ruler, and you'll need some kind of a little cylindrical item for shaping, because I'm going to be making little circles, these little guys. Yeah, we're going to be making those. So you need something small to wrap your wire around to get a circle shape, and it needs to be a small circle. Okay, I think that's everything. So let's get started. Okay, so let's get going. Okay, the first thing I'm going to make is my little flower circle, which is consisting of 6 4 millimeter crystals and slash or these little translucent seed beads around the edge, and then one in the center. You'll need 24 gauge wire, like I said, for that, and you need approximately 6 inches. Those of you who get kits, you can keep your wire intact at the beginning, or cut yourself a foot of wire, make one of your circles, and then see how much you have left to determine whether or not you still need to use 6 inches so that you don't have too much waste. But from doing this, I know it takes about 6 inches to do it comfortably. You will have to cut a little bit off, but that's just the way it works. So first thing I like to do is start my circle. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it around the base of this pin, just the bottom of this pin, just to get my circle started. I find it easier to do it before the beads are on, so that I don't have to shape it with beads on. So there's my little circle. I'm going to have to adjust it because it's usually not the right size. It's better to be a little big and then bring it down smaller if you need to. So I've got my little circle. I have about an inch of wire over here to the side that's not being used at the moment. And then I have the rest of it is long. So you want to make sure that you have 1 inch of wire on one side and the rest on the other side of your circle. So now I'm going to feed on some beads. Again, you can use 4mm. You could even use 6mm if you want, but you need a bigger circle. It just depends on what you're trying to achieve, the look that you want. So I'm going to go ahead and feed these on. And I have different kinds. I have both rondelles and bicones, which is fun. Yay, something different. Put a little seed bead on there. I just need 6 of them. There we go. Got those on. And now I want this tight together. That's why I said this is probably going to be a little bigger than I need. So I'm going to pull it tight so that the beads are meeting, like so. And then I'm going to bend the long wire straight up. I want to wrap the short wire around the long wire. I'm going to bring it over to the center here of the beads. And then I'm going to wrap this short tail around the long one. You just need to wrap it around a couple of times. I want it to be really close to the beads here. Not too much wire sticking up at the top. Whoops, look at that, way too much wire. I'm going to unwrap that and pull that a little tighter. Get rid of that excess space. Yeah. There we go. And wrap that around. And get rid of that little kink there. That will never do. Okay. And wrap that around, short tail around the long stem. Check it before I go any further. Make sure there's not a lot of excess wire there. I think we're good. And I know my fingers are covering it, but I have to hold these beads in place. So, okay, I'm gonna wrap that around twice. Push that little wire down as close as I can get. And then cut off the excess off of that little short tail. And then push down the little tip. I try to push it down under or in between the little rings that I just made. There we go. So there's my little circle. Now I'm going to make a loop. So I'm going to bend the wire over to the side a little bit, like so. And grab my round nose pliers. I'm going to slide my wire down about 1/3 of the way down my pliers. I don't need too big a loop, so 1/3 of the way is good enough. Bring that tail of wire over the top of my pliers and down the side, like so. Then I'm going to hold on to the beads and the wire so that they don't shift. I'm going to open the pliers up and rotate them out of the way of that wire and then bring it under the pliers, like so, so that I have a loop. And now I'm going to grab my square pliers and I'm going to wrap that tail around the previous wraps just a couple of times. and then bring it down in between the beads like that. So now I have a loop on the top. I have a wire going down the center, and I like to push this wire in the center down. So it's got a little dip in the center because I'm going to add another bead to it. And this little, what color do I want here? Let's put this one on. And I want it to sit right in the center here. So if I put a little dip in my wire, it'll settle right in the middle, like so. Bring that down a little closer and get a better look. There we go. And now I need to make, and notice that I have 3 beads on one side, 3 beads on the other side, and this little guy's right in the center. So now I need to bring this wire around the wire that's here at the bottom and make a little, kind of a little knot. I'm just going to wrap it around that wire. So I'm going to feed the tail up between the beads around that wire that's on the bottom. And I'm going to pull that wire tight. And you might need to use your pliers for that. Just give it a nice pull and adjust it until it's nice and snug around that wire on the bottom, just like that. And now I'm going to make another loop. Bend it over to the side again, grab my round nose pliers, slide my wire down 1/3 of the way down my pliers, just like I did on the other side, and wrap the wire around the pliers and right down there until it can't go any further because my pliers are in the way. Hold on to my wire and my beads, open my pliers up, rotate them out of my way, and bring the wire over the rest of the way, straight out to the side so that I have a loop. And I'm going to wrap it. Just give it a few wraps so that it looks like the other side. There we go. And you can wrap it as many times as you want or as few. Give yourself at least 2 wraps just so that it's nicely secure. Okay, let's cut that little tail off. I only had maybe 3/4 of an inch left, so I did not waste something I really cannot stand. Cut that off. And my little pliers are not wanting to cut this thin wire. It's funny that the thin wire is harder to cut because it's so fine, harder to cut than the bigger wire. But there is my little flower, my little flower link. Isn't that cute? Okay, so that's one of my links. The second link is going to consist of these little petals. Oh, well, actually, no, it isn't. That's something else. That's something I'm doing for a class. The other thing that I'm going to do is make some little dangles to go in between the links. So I'm going to have little dangles off to the side. And these are going to link together like that. Then they're going to have little dangles. Isn't that cute? Anyway, so let's go ahead and make our little dangles. Now, you can use head pins for this, but we already did a thing with head pins. So I said we're going to use 24 gauge wire all the way through, and we are. So we're just going to make our own little head pin, and all that takes is about 2 inches of the 24 gauge wire, which is about what I have here, at just under 2 inches. And I'm just right at the tip of my wire. I'm grabbing that tip with the tip of my pliers, and I'm just going to wrap 2 times around. Just do a little spiral. Just like that. And I'm going to just make a little head pin out of that. So I've got that wrapped. I'm going to bring my wire up like that. And that's going to be my head pin. So then I'm going to go ahead and put a bead on one of my little crystals, or come on, get on. Okay, here's a trick. If you put these little rondelles flat down on your whatever it is, when you drop them on there, they automatically fall with the loop or with the opening standing straight up. So you don't have to fight with it to find the opening. Now, once I get that on there, I'm going to adjust this so this little bottom is right in the center of my bead. And you don't want to make it too big, because otherwise it's going to, because these are tiny little 4mm beads, and you want this to go as close to the bead as possible in the center of it. So there we go. Then I'm going to grab a bead and put it on, and I'm putting it on petal side, top side down over my bead. So there's my little dangle. And now I'm just going to make a loop. Bend off to the side like I usually do. Grab my little round nose pliers, slide down about a third of the way down my wire. Down my pliers with my wire. Bring that wire over the top and down the side. Then hold on to my bead. Keep everything in place. Open my pliers up and reposition them. And bring that wire under the pliers. Then I like to switch off to the square pliers. I think it makes it easier to wrap. Some people like to go ahead and wrap it holding the round pliers in between the loop, but I kind of find that awkward. That's just me. Here we go. There's my little wrap. Makes a pretty little cap on top of my little bead here. Isn't that cute? Cut off the excess, or I could keep wrapping if I wanted to, but I don't really want that much silver on top of my pretty petal bead. Cut that off, push down that little end against the other beads, against the other wraps. And there we go. Let's do one more. Scooch you over. Here we go. Yeah. And let's do this one. Same thing, couple of inches of wire. Come on. And make my little spiral right here at the tip. Just a couple of wraps around. Okay. And then I'm going to bring that long tail up like so, so that it has a little flat surface to rest on. I'm going to put my bead on there. Slide my little petal on with the fluted side down. Boop, like that. Isn't that cute? And make my loop on the other side right here at the top, or in this case, the bottom of my flower. Slide down a third of the way down my pliers, wrap the wire over the top of the pliers and down the side, hold on to the wire and the petal, reposition my pliers, bring the wire the rest of the way under, between the flower and the pliers, switch to my square ones and wrap. As many or as few times as you want, give yourself at least 2 wraps. Here we go. Let's cut off that tail. Push down that tip. And I have a couple of little dangles. Yes. And you can do these, you can double up on your little petals, you can do one petal, you can do two petals like I did on this one. It's entirely up to you how you want your little petals to look. Isn't that cute? So now let's put it all together. So for that, I'm going to need a jump ring. So I'm going to grab one of my jump rings. The proper way to open the jump ring is to put your pliers on one side of the opening. Find the opening. There it is, right there. Put your pliers on one side. Now, these are small. You can either use your thumb or you can use a second set of pliers. I'm going to go ahead and show you both ways. I'm going to just push down with my thumb to open it. I don't ever want to pull the ends, the tips apart, because it's almost impossible to get them back together. So I'm going to show you the two plier method. That was the thumb method. Find my little opening. There it is. One plier on one side, second plier on the other side, and twist. Nice, very simple. Now to attach everything, I'm going to take my jump ring. I'm going to put one dangle on one side, my little flower circle on in the middle, and another flower on the other side, just like that. And because I'm linking these together, I'm going to add my other little flower circle. That's a lot of things on this little jump ring, but there you go. Got that on there. And I'm going to close it up. Just twist it closed again. Check and make sure everything's nice and back together the way it should be. And there is my little link. Awesome. And let's add these on the other side. And I'm going to add it to the rest of my bracelet. So let's grab this other jump ring. Put my little flower ring on there, my little flower circle. One of my beads. Another one of my other circle. And my other bead, my other dangle. Slide that on and close that up. Go. Make sure everything's nice and tight together. And there you have it. Told you this is going to be easy peasy. There is my little bracelet. You just do this as many times as you need to do it until you have a bracelet that fits your wrist. Isn't that, what can I say? That's adorable. Yes. So now all I need to do is put on my lobster clasp. I've got a jump ring right here. There's a little opening. Let's open that up. Slide my lobster clasp on. Close that back up. Go. Here we are. Your little lobster clasp just fastens right into the last link of your bracelet. And there it is. What can be cuter than that? We have our own nice lei bracelet. Now, if you don't have these little petals, Everybody doesn't. So you can just use these little connectors right here. They are just as pretty, and you can use those little connectors. And then if you wanted to, instead of using these little petals for dangles, you could just dangle some more crystals in the center if you wanted to do that. But see, you don't have to have anything special for this. You can do it without the dangles. You can do it with the dangles, one way or the other. Very cute. I'm going to put it on and see what it looks like. Here's my little bracelet. Now, mine turned out a little bigger than I wanted it to be. So the beauty of this is because I have these little dangles, I can fasten it over one from the end. Here's my end, and just have a little dangle on the bottom. There it is. Ooh, I like it. I'm gonna wear this today. I'm working. Do I want to wear this today? I'm working the arts festival. So I might just leave this on because it's cute. It's cloudy outside and really boring. So I'll wear something colorful and kicky. Woo! There we go. This is our bracelet. I told you it was going to be easy peasy, and it is. Make these two types of link, or the link and the dangles, put it all together, and you have a nice springtime lei bracelet. Isn't that awesome? Ah, I like it. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope that you'll make one of these. Again, you do not have to use these little petals. I did just because I have a bunch of them and I wanted to share. So those of you who get kits will get the little petals, and you'll get lots of little seed beads and crystals, a little combination of those, and your 24 gauge wire and your lobster clasp. But really, that's all you need for this. Very, very easy and lots of fun. I think this is fun for the whole family. Kids can do it. I think this would be adorable on little girls. And I hope you liked it. Let me know one way or the other. I like to hear from you. If you'll get in touch with me at my email, which is jewelrygen20@gmail.com. That's jewelrygin20@gmail.com. You can leave comments on the library YouTube page, which is youtube.com/DeKalb County Public Library. That's DEKALB County Public Library. You can also leave comments and pictures. Please leave me pictures. I love to see them on the DeKalb County Library Facebook page, which is facebook.com/DeKalb Library. DEKA. I just went blank. DEKALBLIBRARY. So I hope to hear from you one way or the other. Let me know if this worked out for you. If the video didn't look so great, it is cloudy out there. So I've got lots of lights on. Hopefully everything came through okay. I'd love to hear that you liked it. I love the constructive criticism, so I can do things a little bit better. If I didn't teach you well enough, I want to know that too. One way or the other, reach out, say hello, let me know what you thought. Until next time, have a great week, have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.